All right. Hi, everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast. And I have just spent the last hour with the very enjoyable YouTube video of the Texas Medical Center Orchestra performing Bruckner Symphony No. 4 under the conducting of Libi Lebel. And Libby joins us right now. Libby, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for sharing the video, too. I think it's great. You were the winner of the 2025 American Prize in Conducting, which is probably how I found you on Facebook, I think. And you've been conducting for a long time. But what I didn't know is that you are the founding director of the Texas Medical Center Orchestra. So let's start with that. How did you get the idea to do it, the passion to do it, and how have you been keeping going for 25 years?
Well, I at some point in my life, I decided to switch gears from being a pianist to a conductor. And I ended getting a degree from Westminster Choir College. And at that time, I was also conducting the Symphonina Orchestra at Princeton University. It was a nice little thing that I had during my school there. And I saw an ad for the Doctors Orchestra of Philadelphia. And I thought, this is a very interesting concept. I was dating a doctor, and I thought, well, if I ever move to Houston, maybe I need to start a doctor's orchestra. And here I was. I moved to Houston, and I decided to start a doctor's orchestra. 25 years later, I'm still here with the TMCO.
Yeah. Do you have to be an MD to be in the orchestra? Can you be some other designation of healthcare professional, or is it MDs only?
When we founded the orchestra, it was mainly doctors, residents, and people in the medical field. But now, after 25 years, the excitement around the orchestra has gotten so big that we are now accepting just a few, that are outside the medical field and outside of the Texas Medical Center Orchestra.
Okay. All right. Well, I must say the world presents us with many talented people, and many of us have multiple talents, and it's great to see people who are healthcare professionals or anybody, it could be, if pick something, firemen, whatever it would be, to have a passion for music and a passion for playing it at the level that you're conducting it at. And I guess I want to ask you, in your experience as a conductor, having conducted different orchestras, what is the difference that you find conducting your community orchestra versus, let's say, a professional orchestra?
There is a great sense of joy that is constantly alive when you conduct a community orchestra. These musicians come for the joy of making music. They're not getting paid. So every time they come to rehearsal, it's a celebration. When they get on stage, it's a celebration. When you conduct a professional orchestra, it becomes a job after a while, and some of the musicians are no longer happy. They work too many hours. They have to hustle for different jobs, and making music is not as much fun. So what you get is the end product is also quite different. And as a conductor, I can hear the difference in the sound of the orchestra. If they are full of joy, then that there is still a spark in their heart. And with TMCO, it's really a job of love. Every time when I show up to rehearsal, I am filled with this joy, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to the year 2000. So I remember the internet came around like when I was finishing my PhD in 92. So that was the very start of it, so maybe by 2000, you had a decent chance because we had the .com and everything that kind of blew up right around 2000. But how did you go about finding all of the people to play? It must have been a lot of word of mouth and meeting people and shaking hands and dinners and whatever else. A lot of legwork, I'm guessing.
So you're right. It was in the beginning of the internet, and I had one of those big boxes computers on my desktop. Yeah. I knew that I need to somehow get the word out. I had to make some phone calls, and lucky to me, I got connected to the dean of UT Medical School, and I made an appointment with him and said, I need help, and I need to come and speak with you. I was 26 years old, and I had no fear. I came to his office and I said, look, I moved to Houston and I want to start a doctor's orchestra. Here is what I need. I need free space to rehearse. I need free internet to spread the word out. I need to be able to get free parking for the musicians and also free ability to make copies of music in case I need to. And I also told them, I said, the Doctor's Orchestra phenomena is not something new. There is one in Philadelphia, one in Japan, one in Germany. Every city almost around the world has one, but Houston, the biggest medical center in the country, didn't have one. Back in the 60s, they had a group called the Heartbeats. A very famous heart surgeon, Denton Cooley, was part of that group. He used to play bass. But since then, they, disappeared, and there was definitely a lack in that community. And so he looked at me and he says, I might be able to help you. He took me to the fifth floor gallery of UT Medical School in the medical center, and he says, is this going to work? And I looked at this space and I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect. It's just enough. And then he says, look, send me the email that you want to spread around the community and I'll make sure that it's out. And then he says, well, and then as far as parking, let me look into it. And guess what? We did have free parking and some abilities to use a printer in the medical school for programs and whatnot we needed. And so here I was, I sent one email out that went out to the entire medical center. From UT Medical School, it went to Baylor College of Medicine, to the Women's Hospital, to the Texas Children, to the Women's Hospital, MD Anderson, St. Luke's, you name the hospitals we have, it's a whole city here.
Right.
And before emails were coming into my inbox. And as you know, back then I had an email with flash.net.
Okay.
Noel was just starting
Yeah.
Here is my flash.net inbox getting filled with where are the auditions and what is going to happen? And so I set an audition date and I was really shocked. Fifth floor gallery. You had to take the elevator. At 5 p.m., there was a line of about 100 people waiting outside that door for the audition.
Wow.
I really couldn't believe it. I thought maybe just a few would show up. And so they had to sit there for a long time. One by one, they showed up. And I formed within that evening, I formed a full orchestra. Not only was a full orchestra, but because we had so many woodwinds and brass players, I kind of realized that I'm going to have to form two orchestras with the same strings, but a different set of woodwinds, so that if I had a concert, the first half would be this set, and then the other half would be a second set. So everybody would get a chance. Within a month, we started rehearsals. I had no music, so I reached out to the University of Houston, the Moores School of Music, and to the Shepherd School of Music, to their librarians. And I said, I'm starting an orchestra. I need free music. What can you give me? And so they looked and they said, look, some things we can give you and some not. Here are the pieces that we could just let you borrow. And so I collected a set of music. I took it from them and I promised we'll take good care of them. And here I was starting rehearsals. It was extremely exciting and things were progressing quick. I knew that I'm going to have to put on a concert. And again, I was 26 years old, no money. I didn't have a board. I just really needed to find free stuff. So I reached out to the local churches, again, with the same story. I started an orchestra. I'm looking for free space to host a concert. And lucky to me, First Presbyterian Church, located very close to the medical center, said, look, we will not only give you a free space, but we'll also throw you a reception with food and cookies, and you can invite everyone. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, I mean, I'm really hitting the lottery, one thing after the other. And I have to tell you that free parking in a medical center is something.
I come just for that.
We all got tags to park for free, and that was really amazing. So here we were with our first concert. A wonderful man showed up after the concert and said, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Grady Holman. I am a heart surgeon here at St. Luke's Hospital, and I also play the euphonium and the trombone. do you happen to have an opening in the trombone section? And I said, well, if you're very good. And he says, and listen, your orchestra is so amazing. You need to take them to play in a professional stage.
Mm.
And I told him, I said, well, Dr. Holman, I don't have $5,000 to rent a space here back in 2000. He says, give me 1 second. I have my checkbook. So he took the checkbook there at the reception.
Where is this doctor now? Let's meet him.
And he wrote a check for $5,000.
Yeah.
And he said, here is your first donation. The next concert, I want you to go to another venue and bring this group there. You guys are amazing. Little did you know, Dr. Holman, of course, auditioned for the group and played with us for many years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's no longer alive, but his memory is always with us. And
we need more people like him, for sure.
This is, it was a rough beginning, but because of people like him and a few others, TMCO quickly kind of was able to get on board and play beautiful music.
Yeah. Let me ask you about your own journey. You say you started as a pianist, but oftentimes people don't stay on that same journey. Sometimes they do, but sometimes there's something that happens that says, I need to go in this direction. And I do know you went to Juilliard, but where was it along the line that you transitioned from being a piano-focused person to, hey, I'm going to be a conductor?
So, yes, I went to Juilliard from 1990 to 1994. I loved my experience there. I was debating how am I going to make this life work? Am I going to sit in the practice room for the rest of my life and not be able to maybe have a family and children, something that I wanted to have? Am I going to be a teacher? I just really was not sure, and I had to make money. So during the time I was, of course, teaching, competing, doing whatever students do. Somebody told me, if you need to make a quick buck, why don't you supplement your income by also selling insurance? In New York, MetLife and New York Life insurance companies are very big, and they need help from young, energetic people.
Okay.
And I thought, this is probably going to be easy. I'll make a few phone calls. People are going to buy insurance, and I'll make enough money to figure out and buy me some time to figure out what I'm doing. So I went to work for MetLife. After I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I took a time off. I took a year off to try to figure things out. I guess nobody really told me that, no, Libby, selling insurance means that you actually have to do legwork, coming to people's homes in person, meeting them and convincing them that they need to buy insurance from you. And as a pianist who was all her life in a practice room, I was actually a very quiet person, reserved. I was young. I was shy. I was not outgoing the way that I am right now. And I had to learn how to get out of that little box and put on a different hat of this businesswoman who was trying to convince people to buy life insurance and annuities. Well, I quickly realized that I loved working with people. I loved meeting people and making conversation and talking to them. And here in the practice room, I was for 10 hours alone, hoping to improve, never talking to people, and then going to sleep and starting the day again. And I think that I was really starting to get torn between what kind of life am I really going to have as a musician, as a pianist? What am I doing here in this life? I had a dream. I think that we all have sometimes those dreams when we are torn, and sometimes we get special messages. Well, this dream really was a revelation to me and almost life-changing. And in this dream, this woman crossed the street in Manhattan, across from me in a crossroad, and she looked at me in the eye. I remember her very clearly. She had blonde hair and short hair, and she looked at me and she said, "Don't search for music. Let music search for you." And then she left, and I crossed the street, and that was the end of that story. I woke up the next morning and I thought, I remember this very, very much. And I thought, who is this person? I called my mom and I said, did we have some kind of a blonde lady in the family? We're all brunettes. And she says, well, yeah, back in the day, maybe there was someone. I said, Mom, somebody talked to me in my dream. And it left a very big imprint in my spirit. And she says, well, it could be your voices in your head. And, that day, really, I started thinking, was that an angel that was speaking to me? Maybe God was trying to come to me and kind of send me a message. And from that point on, I just knew that if I had to come back to music, music had to summon me back in some way that I would know that they want me back, that this music spirit wants me back to be in it full time. If not, I would have to figure out how to be with people. And here I was selling insurance, driving in Manhattan from client to client, and I heard a radio talk show in the radio station, in the classical station, announcing that this orchestra from San Juan is coming to Carnegie Hall. And oh my God, all of you must come and hear them. They are amazing. I have heard so many orchestras and musicians. I went to Juilliard. They give you tickets to go particularly to every show.
Yep.
So I thought, wow, this speaker said that they are amazing. I mean, are they really going to be that amazing that I have to make a trip to Carnegie Hall? I mean, I've heard the Berlin Phil, I've heard the New York Phil, I've heard so many concerts. And then I thought, I need to make an effort, because somehow that speaker spoke to me, and I thought, I'm going to make an effort.
They were calling you. Yeah.
I came to Carnegie Hall. I was late. I was 15 minutes late. I couldn't find parking for my car. I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? How am I getting into this concert? The usher told me, sorry, the box office is closed, and go speak to the manager in the backstage. So I went to the backstage, and, I was still in my, early 20s, and I was thinking, I'm kind of shy. But I said, look, I'm a Juilliard grad, and I need to come and hear this orchestra I heard on the radio. And would you let me in? I'm happy to buy it. So he gave me a free ticket, and I
Nice. There you go.
went all the way up to the balcony. I sat there for 30 minutes, and then something very strange happened to me. I had almost like an outer body experience. I started, my heart started racing. My hands started kind of shivering a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, am I getting sick, or I've never had panic attacks? What's happening? Well, I can tell you that as I was sitting through this first 30 minutes, I was in complete awe. This orchestra plus choir group, they were really amazing. When I looked on stage, I just saw this incredible music making that I've never noticed before. People coming together as an orchestra, and there is a conductor, and they're all making music together. They're not lonely, they're on stage. And I think that vision, and even though I've seen orchestra, it never spoke to me. And it's
funny, Libby, if I can interrupt for 1 second, it really does point to, like, we never know how our life is going to go. We really don't. And it's great when the opportunity or the moment comes and you're ready for it, and then you accept it and you go with it, because it's so often, I find, you get suggested, hundreds of things in a day that you could do. Advertisers are suggesting everything for us to do, and we reject most of them reasonably. But when you're sitting up there and you're going, okay, this is what I have to do now, right? And it changes your whole life. I think that's just a wonderful story. Really. I mean, you were ready for it, and it was ready for you.
I really could not believe. And so at that moment, it's almost like I had a knowing. Yeah. It's almost like that dream, that music was calling me back. And I came back home. The shivering went away within 5 minutes. I was fine. I wasn't developing fever. Yeah. I realized that something touched me. It was very clear to me. It's a knowing. Sometimes you hear people that come back after a death experience. They come back to life, and they say that there was something.
Yeah, no, I I know. And Libby, again, you remind me of something too. The Symphonina Foundation concept, I went to the orchestra in San Diego 7 years ago, and I'm looking around as I got there early, and I'm the youngest person there, pretty much anyway. I was 54. And like in that moment, I had kind of an experience like you had, which is like, okay, it's not exactly like I have to do XYZ, but it was unacceptable, right? I had to do something. So the outpouring of that became the Symphonina Foundation. I think it's really important when you recognize those moments that you take the time to reflect on it. Is it what you really want to do, right? But once it is what you really want to do, then you have to honor it and dedicate yourself to being successful with it. And you've been incredibly successful with it. So congratulations.
Thank you. When I told my mom that I had a dream and that I had this experience, and that I'm becoming a conductor, she thought that I was crazy. She thought, what are you talking about? You just spend your whole life practicing the piano, competing, winning.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be a pianist. And I said, no, Mom, I'm going to be a conductor and I'm going to do what it takes. And
that's great.
I had to find a program that was open at that time of the year. And I happened to find one program that still accepted some musicians that wanted to study conducting. It wasn't exactly orchestra conducting. I went to Westminster Choir College. I thought initially, I'll start with choral conducting and then I will see how that goes. Maybe I'll change my program. But I loved the program at Westminster Choir College. And I absolutely love to be able to make music, not only with choirs, but, having that opportunity at the Princeton University with Symphonina. And looking back, I have no doubt that whole experience really changed my life. And I was meant to be a conductor.
Do you still play piano? Do you still keep it current, sort of?
I play sometimes. I think that we as professional musicians have such high expectation from us that unless we practice for 10 hours, we're not worthy of saying, oh, we're playing very good. So sometimes that kind of throws me off. But I think that making music in any way is just a huge privilege. And to be able to actually be a musician and make beautiful music is a gift that I can't put into words.
Libby, I want to thank you. Not only do the doctors and nurses and whoever else is in your orchestra help the people in Houston with their medical prowess, but they help us all with the healing power of music, not just in Houston, but all around the world. And that's a direct result of you. So thank you very much. If people want to get in touch with you, Libby, what's the best way to do that?
They can go on our Facebook page at TMCO Orchestra or the Texas Medical Center Orchestra. If they want to reach to me, they can find me there. They can also reach out to me directly, Libi Lebel at tmcorchestra.org.
Libby, that's great. We're going to listen to some more of the music that you've conducted on the way out. I encourage everybody to go find those links. And if there's anything that we can do at the Symphonina Foundation to be of help to you, you just let us know.
Thank you so much for having me.